This is Rick.
I'm Steve.
Welcome to TalkSmackToThePreacher.com.
Org. And net. We have them. Yeah.
Yes, we do. And today we are talking about all or nothing.
Indeed we are.
All or nothing. Friend Sal Khan, who's a journeyer, who is a college student, sent me an email and said, this is the kind of email I get sometimes from my Christian friends. Tell me if this is this doesn't strike me as being what following Jesus is like for me. Give me some feedback. And it was all about, if you're lukewarm, if you don't believe exactly like da-da-da, there are too many Christians who are too weak in their faith and they don't see their faith as a struggle and they're not sold out for Christ and da-da-da. And I was just like, you know what? I don't think it's necessary for me. I don't believe that it's necessary to have to be that all out. And I told her, I don't see the world in that kind of dualistic sense, black or white, in or out, good or bad, good or evil, Christian, non-Christian, which equals good or evil. I just don't think that's what... And I said, that doesn't mean that I don't struggle or take my faith seriously. Sure. I take it really seriously. Yeah. But I don't feel like I have to I don't feel like I have to win or beat somebody. Right.
I don't think at the end of that commercial Jesus would say, and I approve of this message. I'm not sure if he would. That's out. But here's what my take on it is. I feel like, in my experience, personally and with some other friends who've gone through a phase like that.
Right.
Now, maybe we're weak because we only went through a phase and didn't live it for the rest of our lives, who's to say? But I think that that kind of absolutist thinking is important on some level because you struggle with, where does my faith end? To what extremes will I go to defend and live my faith?
Yeah.
And especially, at least in my experience, when you're very early on in your faith and you're struggling with some of those things, where those limits are for you. You kind of play with that whole thing as, okay, everything has to be absolute. Maybe this is where, if I'm going to be real about this, I've got to take it to, I've got to be willing to walk right to the edge.
Okay.
But then I've also kind of lived through some of that, and I've seen some other friends live through some of that, and they come back from the edge of that, and they go, you know, there really wasn't a lot of point in that, and it just alienated me from a lot of people who I love, and who are really good people and have strong faith. It just didn't agree with me when I was in that extreme state of mind. And so now that I've walked back from that personally, I don't know that I ever, well, I don't know, maybe when I was very young, but in my faith, but maybe that extreme is part of the walking through the fire.
So, like when you're talking about, like at a developmental level, like in the same way that people's psychology develops developmentally, their learning ability, their cognitive function. There's a classic book that came out a couple of decades ago, it seems like, by James Fowler, called Stages of Faith, and it talks about faith in those same kind of developmental terms, in the same way that a human personality develops as we grow, and absolutist black and white thinking. And I didn't think about this till you were talking about somebody being new in their faith or somebody being really rabid in it, that it's in the same way that a child thinks, and I'm not saying these people are childish, I'm saying in terms of the arc of something developing and evolving. The school-age child says, it is so because the teacher says it is so, and mama and daddy say it is so, and the book says it is so. Right. And don't break the rules, and we're supposed to be on the playground lined up at da-da-da, and that's part of the process. If you don't go to that place of very concrete thinking and in or out thinking and black or white thinking, then to get to the place of kind of letting that go a little bit, that's a necessary step on the way too.
Well, it's kind of like walking into a room with no lights on in it, and you have no idea how large it is. First thing you might do is yell something really loud and then reach out to figure out where the edges of the walls are and see where all the furniture is. And you kind of have to go through that before you can have a mental picture of what what you're comfortable with, where you want to sit in the room, where you want to spend most of your time, whether or not you want to stay in the room, to take the metaphor away.
Are you talking about like you have to find what the edges are, the boundaries
Yeah,
are, the
yeah.
layout is?
Yeah, and figure out where the limitations are, figure out what you feel comfortable with. I don't know. And like you say, I'm not trying to, if somebody who's watching this feels that the extremes are important to their faith and really, concrete, important base information, first of all, we're not trying to tell you you're wrong. It's not right for me personally, but, we'd love to hear from you and what your perspective is on that, because maybe we have something to learn as well. But
well, and I'll just throw this in before we leave. I love being in spiritual relationship with what I understand God to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really serious about following Jesus in a real way, not kind of an academic, theoretical sense, like for real, in real life. And I also say shit, and I also am not particularly holy-ish, and I those go together just fine for me.
Well, I find that most of the time when I have been in a point where I'm in a state of judgment because of those extremes,
Mm-hmm.
it tends to be because of something I learned from a person at a specific church, or a specific message that a person gave me, rather than from my inspiration reading what Christ actually did and said.
Oh.
Maybe that's where the distinction is.
Maybe we'll do one next week on what did Jesus say and what didn't he say. Because there's some stuff that we say that Jesus said, I'm not really sure he said it like that.
That would be an interesting one.
Okay, we'll do a 47-part series on, because it's big.
It is a big one. And if you have anything you want to contribute to this, or suggest for future discussions, or you want to get involved directly, chime in, talk some smack.
Love to hear from you.
Yep.
Okay.
See ya. Take care.